Hey guys, Chris here with The Good Old Gamer. So the other day I picked up Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4, and yeah, I wanted to go ahead and talk about this game because while it's not like earth-shattering, there's nothing new about it, but it does everything right. And that's something we don't really get to see too much in games today, where literally every aspect of the game is done right. So today, that's what we're going to go ahead and talk about, so stick around and check it out. Now, Spider-Man is one of the most anticipated games for PlayStation for a very long time. Ever since it was teased, I think it was 2015, and it was really shown off 2016, and then of course heavily last year, and then again this year. So this has been in the limelight for a long time. And honestly, this is one of the reasons why I went out and actually bought a PlayStation 4. I bought a PS4 Pro to be completely transparent because, well, I wanted to play these games at their absolute best. Now, starting off with the big elephant in the room, the good old Puddlegate scandal. Digital Foundry did this video right here where they basically debunked this. And looking at it and playing the game for myself, I can wholeheartedly say that the game looks and feels great. Now, is it revolutionary? Is it something like we've never seen before? No. It's very well implemented and the game looks great. Textures are good. The use of reflections, screen space reflections is fantastic. This is obviously not a ray-traced game. You know, I went ahead in the last video and said that a lot of people think that it is because they did a good job with the screen space reflections. It's not ray-traced, but it is implemented very, very well. And that's really the key phrase that you're going to hear me say throughout this entire impressions video, is because everything is done well. Overall, the graphics are solid. Like I said, textures are really detailed and everything looks fine. Now, character models, they don't look as realistic as they could. You can definitely tell that this is a video game. They don't look like toys or plastic characters, so that's really good. Animations sometimes aren't perfect, but they're definitely above average. Overall, like I said, they really nailed it in that aspect, but when you're running around and web-slinging throughout the city, that's when things really shine. Because the level of detail in the world is so vast that you wouldn't think that a PlayStation 4 would be able to handle that level of graphics. And it makes the immersive feeling of being Spider-Man really good. Now, what really brought it all together for me is actually the commentary in the game. Just the way that the Spider-Man character behaves.
Just had dinner with my ex after saving her from masked criminals. And now I'm gonna go beat up a maniac who uses shockwaves to rob people. What a perfectly normal life you have, Peter Parker.
For example, you're running around and you're doing some missions and you're working with Yuri the cop, and Spider-Man's just running around going, "Spider Cop!" on the job, and just making funny little quips that you would expect from Spider-Man. And that's what really makes the game feel good to me. It makes it feel like you are Spider-Man, you're in the universe, and they've done a really good job of capturing the essence and the feel of the game. Now, Spider-Man, unlike Batman, for example, Batman's a very dark game, Spider-Man's much more lighthearted. And those sort of moments where Peter Parker gets to just be himself and just be a wise ass, that's what really sells the game for me, because it keeps the game lively, entertaining, and not overly serious. So you're just sitting there having a good time with this game, and literally you can't ask for much more than that out of a video game. Now, as far as mechanics go, at first it is a little bit difficult, as, you know, running through the city and web-slinging and everything. As you can see right here, I'm not doing a very good job. Even now, sometimes I screw things up. But you do get used to it, and you get more fluid with it, and there are missions where you gotta chase down guys, and you pretty much have to become comfortable with this process to proceed in the game. So this is a big part of the gameplay mechanics. Now, it is pretty basic stuff. You just use the R2 trigger to swing around. You can use the X button to go ahead and propel you forward. You can use both the R2 and L2 triggers to latch onto something and propel you forward. And I mean, those are pretty basic movements, but combining them together, you can do a lot of cool stuff, as well as aerial acrobatics and other things if you so choose. Now, as far as combat goes, it is very Arkham-ish, or Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor type of thing, where basically you're mashing the square button for the most part, you're dodging with the O button, and then you're using the triangle button. Now, this is really key that makes the combat here a little bit different than Arkham. It allows you to grapple onto an opponent and propels Spider-Man towards them. So if enemies are kind of scattered about, you don't have to, like, run over to a guy before your combo, meter runs out. You can just hit triangle, and it'll shoot you right into the next guy. So I found that very, very helpful in this game, and it keeps the combat and the gameplay flowing a little bit better. Not to mention that the gadgets are really, really cool. I don't find myself using them too terribly much. When I'm being more stealthy, I'll use them, but in combat, I don't use them that often. But they can come in handy if you are becoming overwhelmed. Something like a spider grenade, which will just kind of got an aerial effect, and it'll web everybody down and slow down your opponents, like a whole group of them. So that can help you out in a clutch. Now, just like the Arkham games, it takes a little while getting used to the timing. And instead of a button popping up over somebody's head like in the Arkham games, instead you see the Spidey sense thing going off, and that lets you know that there's an attack incoming. And that's actually really cool because it makes sense for Spider-Man to have Spidey sense instead of Batman having, like, I think it was the B button or something on the Xbox that would pop up over people's heads. I mean, sure, it's good to give the player the information of what's going on, but it did seem a little out of place. This feels a lot more in place in this universe. Now, as I kind of touched on a little bit before, the story in the game is not overly dramatic. I mean, it's there, and it's definitely serviceable, and it keeps you always moving forward. I actually really like the fact that after you complete a mission, somebody will call you up on your phone or something like that will just pop up, and then you can go ahead and just move on to the next task, or you have the option to go ahead and run around the city and do whatever you want. So there's not a whole lot of downtime. If you want to keep progressing in the game, you have the choice to do that. And it's really kind of nice, instead of being like, okay, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here, you always have an idea of what it is that you need to do. And that was something I was worried about in such a large environment. It could get very easy for you to get lost, but the game does a very good job of letting you know what you need to do and where you need to go. And like I said, most of the time it's optional, so it's up to you if you want to do it right away, or if you want to go ahead and wait and do a few other things first. At this point, I'm probably 5, maybe 6 hours into the game, and I couldn't really put this game down. Typically, if a game does not grip me almost immediately, I will just put it down and I'll get back to it eventually. This game had me playing the next mission. Like, after one would complete, like I just mentioned, something else would pop up, and I would just instinctively just go and do it. And I'm like, well, I'm halfway there, I might as well do this. And I actually ended up playing the game for about 2 or 3 more hours last night than I was planning on. But it's that much fun that you just keep wanting to go. And even to do this video right here, I had to pull myself away. I'm like, okay, you gotta go take a shower. You gotta go do stuff. You gotta get a video up. You know, you have to be a little bit productive today. And it was actually really pretty difficult. And that, to me, is really the biggest sign to a successful game, if you don't want to put it down. And like I said, I don't know about how far I am at this point. Probably about a third, maybe half of the way through. I'm not really delving into the side quests and stuff just yet, because the main story is very fun. That's the best way to put it. It's not super interesting or compelling. Like I said, it's very lighthearted. Think like the Marvel Universe. I mean, it's a Marvel game with their movies. None of them are super serious and dark or anything like that. But they're just fun and interesting, and it just keeps things moving forward. And that's exactly how this game has been made. So Insomniac Games did a fantastic job with this. The production quality across the board is great. Like I said, graphically, it's not better than anything else that we've ever seen before, but it's on par with the best of everything that we've seen before. So that in and of itself is great. Usually games will have some sort of drawback, The only thing that I could see in here, like I said, some of the animations aren't the best, and on occasion you can see some jaggies, but it's very rare. It's not immersion breaking. And like I said, when you're in combat and when you're in motion, the game looks absolutely fantastic. It's a blast to play. The controls are great. They're very, very responsive for a 30 frame per second game. I know a lot of you PC gamers out there are like, man, I can't handle 30 frames per second. Well, it's not a super fast-paced game, so it actually works just fine in this occasion here. The frame pacing of the game is flat, like it's perfect. The game's locked to 30 frames per second. Digital Foundry's video, they could barely find any frame drops, so I can attest to that. I haven't seen any or felt any while I was playing, so the gameplay is extremely smooth, and it does work because of the type of gameplay that it is. So, at the end of the day, if you like Spider-Man, if you're a fan of the Arkham games, especially if you're a fan of the Arkham games, you really should check this out. Now, it is a PlayStation exclusive game. That kind of sucks. This would be awesome on PC with, 60 frames per second or better, but the 30 frames per second does not hinder the game because of how they designed the gameplay mechanics, and they obviously designed it around that in mind. Everything works just fine. So if you guys want to go ahead and pick this up, I would recommend doing so. I have links in the description below. You can download the digital version right now, play it here today, or if you're like me, I like my Sony games on physical copy, because, well, I just do. So, if you're the same way, you can go ahead and get that ordered. That helps me out a little bit, and obviously you get to play this awesome game. Well, alrighty guys, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. If you've played Spider-Man, what do you think? Do you think that they did a good job? I'm really curious to hear your opinions on this. Are you guys interested in this kind of game? I mean, Sony keeps churning out these fantastic single-player games. That's the type of gameplay that I enjoy. I'm going to keep supporting them as long as they keep making these games. But once again, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Please share with friends. That really, really does help me out. And that's all I have for today. And I will catch you guys in the next video.
Move, move, move!